The live theater experience is a unique one in that what the audience gets is something that can only be given one time. You could be doing the same production, we'll just pick one random production, we'll say Evita. You could do the performance of Evita and the audience reacts to that and they get that experience, but that same audience and those same actors could do the same thing the next night, and that experience is going to be different. It's going to be different because everybody in the audience will have had a different day than what they had before, so how they react to what they see is going to be slightly different. And the actors, while giving very consistent performances, they're going to have different types of energy and things going on from them personally. Little mishaps can happen. Certain things can be a little more exciting one night than the other, or less exciting as the case may be. But it's a unique experience, something you will only ever be able to experience one time in that exact way. P3 Theater Company is a local professional nonprofit theater company that has a mission to create employment for creatives, actors, and to bring the arts, quality arts, to the community and make those arts accessible to the entire community. And when people think of or hear P3 Theater Company, I want them to think, wow, they're going to put on a great show. They're going to have great talent with great production values, and I've got to go see that show.
Well, I think that the caliber of shows that John Peterson puts on are absolutely top-notch professional level. He seeks out and works with the absolute best people who are not only talented, but wonderful to work with as well, wonderful individuals. And also P3 gives back. It's very socially conscious. So P3 has a number of charitable donations, including helping children and veterans, and I love that. So P3 is very passionate about supporting its community and the arts.
I think what is so special and unique and also heartbreaking about theater is that it becomes this shared experience between the performer and the audience that binds them, and like they feel like they've seen each other, and felt each other. And it's just in that one space of time. It's just for that one night of that performance or that one matinee or whatever it was. It was that experience and everybody in the room felt it and it was real for everyone. And then it's just in everyone's memory. You know what I mean? And it's always real, but then it's like ephemeral. And that's what I think is so wonderful and heartbreaking about theater, is that you can't go back and see it again. You can relive it in your mind and how you felt when you were in the audience or when you were on stage performing. Most of the time I don't remember when I'm on stage, but that moment is unless it's captured, it's gone. It just lives on in whoever it affected in the way that it meant to, which is beautiful.
I think it's unique because no show is alike. I mean, you can have the same cast doing the same thing every single night, and it's always slightly different. Whether the actor changes up a little bit or something happens on stage that shouldn't, and the audience, like different audiences can bring in different energies. And so it's just a really interesting way that just everything is always just a little bit different. So I think that's really interesting.
The theater experience is unique because we're both in the same room. We're both participating. When I say both, I mean performers and the audience. That line is blurred a little bit in the theater because the audience's reactions are part of the experience, and that informs us, the performers, as well. Like the opening night always has so much more energy than dress rehearsal because you're adding in that so crucial element of the audience and their appreciation or their interest. You can feel when they're leaning in, when something is important to the character on stage. You can feel when it's also important to the audience, or when something is painful, you can feel when the audience is weeping with you. So it's crucial for those of us on stage to feel that informs our performance. And like I said, with comedy, that's the most obvious, that you can absolutely tell when they're with you, and you can absolutely tell when they're not with you. Uh, when you're dying on stage and there's just crickets when something is supposed to be working and it's not.
I think that's actually the answer to the question. I think that theater is such a unique experience because of the people that are involved, because there is an audience and people on stage. As performers, we're not just performing for a big blank canvas. There are real humans with emotions and thoughts and feelings who are responding to us. And even if the audience is silent, we feel their energy very much. So what is happening on stage, I feel, is very much a co-creation that we're all making together. The audience and the people on the stage and the performers. And that's why every performance is different, because what every audience is offering energetically and the people on stage, it's going to be different every time. It's a unique artistic creation that we're all in together. It's very exciting.
Adding the element of music to storytelling, and not just background music, but actually telling the story through music, seems to, and it doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone loves musicals, but for those of us that do and are passionate about musicals, it's because that element is so primal. I think music reaches in even deeper than just words do, because the music, the melody, the arrangements, and definitely the energy of the music informs what we're saying. If you're singing a love song and the music is also giving you that feeling of the endorphin rush that you get when you're in love, or in the case of Jekyll and Hyde, the fear or the dread that might be coming from this terrifying moment or impending doom, you feel that in the music, and it heightens the emotional experience of that story. So I think that it's a magical way of telling a story. And even though it's maybe not the most natural way of telling a story, because the stories don't happen like that in real life. We don't, break out in song when we're excited about reading our new bank balance or whatever in the real world. But in musicals, we do, and we feel it that much more as an audience and as a performer when you can express it fully with music as well.
Musicals, so I've done both. I've done straight plays and musicals. And for a long time, up until I was probably in college, I did my first musical in college. And I was an English literature major. I studied theater, so classical theater like Shakespeare, Chekhov, Ibsen. And I also studied singing like opera. But I never thought that I could combine the two. I didn't think that I had a place in musical theater, even though I loved it. I didn't think I belonged there. But when I did my first musical, I realized I was able to combine everything that I loved. And I'm paraphrasing, but you've heard the phrase, something along the lines of when our emotions become so great, words do not suffice. And so we sing. And even more so, when even singing cannot suffice, we move, we dance to express how we're feeling. So I think it intensifies everything that's happening on stage. When we sing a song on stage, it's because simple words alone are not enough to express how we're feeling. So we have to sing it.
I think musicals have, like, a well-done musical has that capacity to reach every note that a person could possibly want to feel in ways that are quicker than a straight play, I think. When a straight play has to do it through dialogue and through, lighting and through mood and through the acting and directing and all of that stuff, a musical can just cut through so much because it's got the music. And the music cuts straight to the heart. So whatever the composer intended you to feel, you're going to feel subconsciously, whether you want to or not, because it's there in the music, And I think that's what makes it such a universal and kind of an addicting thing. I have many friends that are just like addicted to going to Broadway shows. And they'll spend, so much money because they go seek shows regularly. And that's like just part of their thing. They used to be performers, but now they just love it so much that they have to continue to do this. There's something very addictive about seeing a performer like shine in what they do and give you that experience of like, I feel seen and I am blown away and I am inspired and all of these things. That feeling, that live feeling, that again, like I said, is ephemeral because it passes after that night is gone, but it stays with you. So what do you got to do? Go back and go see another one and go see another show and see another performer, get addicted to another performer, another feeling of like, wow, this person is bearing their soul on that stage. I need more,
P3 has been such a great company for me in particular, because first off, I love working with John. He is a performer himself, so he knows from both sides of the stage how things are going to work, and I trust that we're in good hands when we're working with John Peterson of P3. And this will be my third thing that I've done under P3 now. And John is fearless with tackling some of the biggest and most daunting tasks, like Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde is a huge undertaking. And even though this is going to be a little bit more of a concert style of the presentation, it's still a really big undertaking. And I love that he's so passionate about the material and about getting it out there that he will throw caution to the wind and say, we're going to do this. We're just going to, I know enough he knows enough people where he can get us all together and make magical things happen that on a magically small budget, on a shoestring budget, or a wing and a prayer. And he's like, well, everybody, the thing that we have a ton of is passion and talent. He knows a lot of talented people, so those are his resources. And when you have passionate people that are also very talented, and John knows all those people, he can put them all together and make things happen. And it defies a lot of conventional thinking about what is possible with limited resources. And then also some of the other things that I've done with John involve a very small group of people and a small amount of staging, a small amount of props and set design, so you can tell a story in the truest, rawest form in basically a black box setting and still take the audience on a fully immersive adventure someplace without having to, create a full set or a full with doing it with minimal resources.
I love working with P3 Theater Company because of the people involved. Every single one of them are an absolute jewel. Everyone is very kind and professional and thoughtful and enthusiastic. And everyone is incredibly multi-talented and wears all the hats. So just about everyone who's involved with P3 is a performer and a singer and a dancer and a producer and a director. Like, everybody is coming at this project from many different angles. And it's a lovely and warm environment to be in. Everyone's very supportive of one another, very thoughtful. And I always feel like I'm getting a warm hug when I walk into a room with the members of the P3 Theater Company.
Well, I'm I'm a little biased because I have known John Peterson for decades, over decades, for almost 2 decades. Jesus, no, over 2 decades now. Anyway, whatever. So I've, it's like he's sister. That's how he kind of refer to each other. When we literally, that's how we'll begin our voicemails to each other. So when he asked me to do, oh wait, am I allowed to talk about it yet? Evita? Okay. When he asked me to do Evita here, in Long Beach, as his, I think it was like that was the first production that they did. I had never done Evita before. I'd never done an Andrew Lloyd Webber play. I think. I don't think I'd done an Andrew Lloyd Webber show. I think that was my first one. It was a baptism by fire. But I was like, I couldn't, of course, I was like, I'm not gonna say no, it's John. Um, so really to me, it's like this embodiment of all of this passion that he has for this and for this experience that I felt like I walked with him back when we worked together doing children's theater and regional productions, all, you know, 2 decades ago. You know, this for me personally, the stuff that I get to do with him, I don't really get to do anywhere else, you know. Um it's it's a there's an encouragement and a breadth of support that he creates, and an environment of like everybody wants it to win. Everybody wants the thing to be the best, and that's curated because of, I think, because of John. You know what I mean? And that's just the kind of how it feels to work there. So, I mean, personally, I mean, I might be biased, but I love it.
So far, it's been a really great experience. He is very fun, and everything's been very organized. The emails are very detailed. Like sometimes in community theater, you show up and everyone just kind of like looks around and you're not quite sure what's going on. He's very detailed in this. You can tell that he's very passionate about musical theater, and he's passionate about helping his actors and actresses succeed. And yeah, and he listens to people. You know, there are sometimes that directors can hover a little bit, and this time, for example, The Sopranos were having a little bit of a hard time finding a line, getting it right, and I was like, you know what, move on, and I'll have it by tomorrow. And me and the other girl, and he did. He was like, okay, sounds good. And that trust that he had in us to be able to do it on our own is not always what you get from directors, and that was really nice.
Because do you want your work to grow? Do you want your work to flourish? This is the company to do it with. They've got the artists, they've got they've got John. What else? What do you need? You know, this is the company that you want to grow your work with.
I think P3 is incredible at nurturing its members and bringing out the absolute best in every single person, whether they're performing on stage or assisting off stage. I think that John Peterson, who this is his company, P3, I think he has an absolute gift for knowing how to bring out the absolute best in each person and discerning their talents and their energy and their capabilities and their personalities, and casting his shows that way as well, like bringing out the absolute best. Even I think John is wonderful at surprising people with what they're capable of. So I think if someone is looking to work with a theater company to be involved in some way, this is a wonderful place to do it.
P3 Theater Company operates so lightly that it can maneuver in and out of different situations very quickly. And I think it's a great opportunity for creatives to get to try a lot of different types of material, because, like I said before, John is fearless about tackling, different undertakings, and he's also very supportive in collaborating with other creatives. So when you're working with John, it's not just the John Peterson show. It's John pulling the best out of everybody, whether he's the director or he's just there. He encourages everybody to bring, and that's why you're there. And he knows that. He's brought you in or hired you in because he already believes in your artistic ability and talent, and he wants you to express that. And isn't that what we all want as creatives, is to express that spark that we want to share with the world?
I mean, to provide art and to provide performance and experiences like what will be the Jekyll and Hyde concert, that that doesn't pay for itself. That needs this, this is all a benefit. So none of the performers are getting paid. We're doing this because we love John, because we love the theater company, and because we believe in this. this, but it takes money. It costs money to run productions, lights, and people, the people that run backstage, pay the actors, because actors also deserve to get paid. That stuff needs support, needs the help of people who can and who are moved by it. Those are the ones that we need and want the help from. We don't want the money from the people that can't afford it. We want the money from the people that can and are moved by it. That's what's necessary.
Well, I would say one of the reasons that it's worthwhile to support P3 Theater Company is the excellent caliber of its shows, the incredible productions that it brings forward, but also something that I mentioned earlier, and that P3 cares about the community and it gives back. Like John will give back absolutely every opportunity that he can for children, for education, for veterans, for the arts, and he's also incredibly really supports his arts community, other theaters. He's not stingy in holding all the talent or resources to himself. John really believes that when one succeeds, everyone succeeds. So he's very invested in supporting his theater company, but yes, all the other theater companies that he's met and worked with and knows of. He wants to support all of them because the arts are such a valuable part of our lives, and theater is worth keeping alive, especially post-pandemic.
Small theater companies like P3 are very special, and sometimes we don't even realize how lucky we are to have these small independent companies until they're gone, because you realize if you rely just on the huge productions that come through town, maybe the big tours that come through town, and you get a very limited and very mainstream view of what's out there. So we might get the same thing over and over again with the larger companies, because they have to hedge their bets on what they can. Those are very expensive productions, and they have to make sure they can make their money back. And first and foremost, the larger companies are a business. They're for profit, and they choose their material based on that. And although the smaller companies need to make a profit too, because they are smaller and can operate much lighter, they can take bigger risks, and they can bring a bigger cultural palette and a cultural offering to communities like this. So it's important, to go see companies like P3, because you're going to get a wider view of what's available and what's out there. You're going to walk away culturally richer than you were before. But B, it's important because we want to support those small companies, because without those companies, you're stuck with the mainstream stuff that comes through. And no shade to the big companies that stay mainstream. They have to make a profit. They can't afford to take risks like companies like P3 can. And so support companies like P3 that bring you a wider palette of cultural offerings in your theater world.
The live theater experience is a unique one in that what the audience gets is something that can only be given one time. You could be doing the same production. We'll just pick one random production. We'll say Evita. You could do the performance of Evita, and the audience reacts to that, and they get that experience. But that same audience and those same actors could do the same thing the next night, and that experience is going to be different. It's going to be different because everybody in the audience will have had a different day than what they had before, so how they react to what they see is going to be slightly different. And the actors, while giving very consistent performances, they're going to have different types of energy and things going on from them personally. Little mishaps can happen. Certain things can be a little more exciting one night than the other, or less exciting as the case may be. But it's a unique experience, something you will only ever be able to experience one time in that exact way. P3 Theater Company is a local, professional, nonprofit theater company that has a mission to create employment for creatives, actors, and to bring the arts quality arts to the community and make those arts accessible to the entire community. And when people think of or hear P3 Theater Company, I want them to think, wow, they're going to put on a great show. They're going to have great talent with great production values, and I've got to go see that show.
I first heard about P3 Theater Company because a friend of mine had gone to see a production of theirs. They were doing Steel Magnolias. And she wrote about it on Facebook and just said what a wonderful evening she had and how much she really loved the show. And then soon after that, I saw an audition notice for Day After Day, a show they were doing about Doris Day, and I actually reached out to my friend who'd seen Steel Magnolias and asked her, do you think this is a theater company that I would enjoy working with? And she said, yes, absolutely. It was an amazing, high caliber performance. The actors were incredible. It was a beautiful environment at the theater, and she thought it was extremely professional and something I could be proud to work with. I found the P3 Theater Company to be more than a company, but a family, a very professionally run family. So they are absolutely professional, they are dependable, they are reliable, but the quality of their productions in every detail is absolutely impeccable. Beyond that, they are kind, they are lovely, they are delightful, they are fun, and they care very much about what they do. There's no ego. They're absolutely a delight to work with in every way. On stage and in rehearsals and off stage, absolutely wonderful. I highly recommend working with this company if you are fortunate enough to. If you're interested in working with the P3 Theater Company, I highly, highly recommend them. They, from the very, very moment from auditions, were so professional and so accommodating, so kind, patient, wonderful, and care so much about the art of theater. And it's impossible not to feel joy and happiness being in their presence. They are absolutely delightful. At this time, especially as people are starting to go back to live theater, I think that it's so important to show our support to P3 Theater Company, not just to continue the wonderful art of live performance, but because they give wonderful performances. They hire incredible performers. They give amazing shows. So in addition to supporting live theater, this is a theater of quality, of craftsmanship, of beauty and interest and talent. So I hope that you will support them, but also enjoy yourself. Live theater is such a gift, and I'm so delighted that it's coming back again.
So I found out about P3 from backstage, and I saw it, and my friends were talking about a new little company starting up in Long Beach, and I was like, oh, okay. And then the buzz started happening about Evita, their inaugural production, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and see what this new theater has to offer. And when I walked in there, I saw John Peterson. He is the founder of P3 Company, and he is an amazing person. You walk into that audition and you just feel like you're home. Like I wasn't nervous. And they make you feel welcome, and they make you feel like it's a space where you're able to create and your voice is heard and you're not just another person on stage. And in the Evita cast, I actually felt like we were a family, and it wasn't like cliquey, because sometimes it can be depending on the show. But Evita was just such an amazing experience, and one I will always remember. And P3 Theater Company, you just walk in there and everybody, no matter if it's a stage manager or the people helping with concessions, everybody is there just because they love theater. And I think that was the part that was special, because it was something new and everybody was there and they knew it was new and they knew it was something exciting, and they were a part of the first show that P3 was ever putting on. And you felt that energy every night on stage. You felt like we are a part of something that's going to be great and that's going to last. And I know that P3 is going to last because they're putting things out there for people to get educated and just, opening their eyes to so many things. And that's why I really appreciate P3 Theater Company. P3 is very important to the Long Beach community. And I really do believe more people should get involved with it, because it gives just everyone in Long Beach a place to create and be seen and be heard. And it also gives an outreach to the youth in Long Beach, because they already have a really good like educational program that they do within their social medias, where they reach out to kids in the community. And they also have people from the working industry, from Broadway to regional theater, and they get to talk with them and learn new crafts. I've seen one where they were talking about lighting design, from even anything from lighting design to being a Broadway star. And I feel like that will open the door to more people in Long Beach to actually like understand the theater, and maybe if they wanted to get involved with it, they can maybe get that acting bug. But also Long Beach needs to have this theater because it brings outside people in to Long Beach. It gives the community an economic standing, with people that didn't even really know Long Beach existed. I know from personal experience, when I was in Avita, I went to so many places in Long Beach that I never knew existed. And now they've honestly become some of my like favorite hangouts. And I know the cast can agree. We would spend, just lunches, like finding new places. And there's so much history and culture just within Long Beach that would thrive if, people would just know about it. And it's such an amazing community, because I really felt like Long Beach has a sense of not only like pride, but just a sense of just a loving community. I don't even really know how to like put it into words, how everyone was so nice and generous wherever you went. And I've also seen that already with just the Black Lives Matter movement, how everybody in Long Beach is coming together, and it's great. It's just this great community. And I really think that P3 is only adding to it. And it's really giving everybody, a sense of just, let's go to the theater, let's have a nice time and experience new works of art. Because yeah, you could go to, say, like San Diego or Hollywood to see a Broadway production or a national tour, but P3 Theater is going to give you all these little plays that no one has heard about, but they have such a big significance. And you're only going to get that from regional theaters or the smaller local community theaters. And I think that is so important, because it's going to open up, theater to people that have never even seen a real life production. This might be their first one. And it creates jobs as well in the community. I've seen people in P3 Theater Company where they just want to be an usher or, something. And I think it's really good. I think P3 Theater Company is making a really, really big stand in Long Beach. And I think John is being an amazing leader with this platform he has given himself. And I just honestly love P3 Theater Company, and I would keep coming back even if I didn't have a show with them, just to watch their productions, because everything they pick is so empowering and it always has a message. It's not just, let's put on a show. It's what can we do for the community to show them something or have them walk out the door thinking a different way. And I think that's why P3 Theater Company is so important for Long Beach.
There are a lot of ways that people can become involved with the theater company, with P3 Theater Company. We are always looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to help us out backstage, people to help with advertising, people to help us get off the ground, help spread the word about this new theater company, that we are a nonprofit 501c3 professional theater company. So, it costs a lot of money to do this. And the more we can have to help us out and spread the word and get involved, for the younger generation, it can again be an education. If people are passionate about theater, they can come help us and really, really get involved. And they can visit our website, where we always have opportunities listed, from financial assistance to helping us run concessions at the show or usher. So everything in between there, we're always looking for help. Why must the Southern California theater community come? Because one of our P's of P3 is the passion. there is, within our vision and mission statements, the passion that's going to be involved with everybody who is on the theatrical side of the productions, be it creative, production, administrative. They're all passionate about theater, about what they do, about why they do it. Everybody has their own take on, this is why I'm in theater. This is why I love calling people and asking them for money for the theater. This is why I love coming and running the box office. There's a lot of passion involved. We're not out there to make a buck. We're out there to bring people together.
Well, theater is not complete without either a audience or the actors, which is why it's unique. A novel, you sit down by yourself and read, and you find those characterizations yourself based on whatever the author has written. But in the theater, it takes both that actor and the audience, as well as the writer, to complete the piece. And the piece is never the same. I read somewhere, and I can't remember who the playwright was that said this, but he said that writing a novel, you get to go back and meet your old friends, and when you read it, you get to go back to meet your old friends, and they're always the same person. In theater, you go to see your old friends, and they're constantly different. And so it doesn't matter what day you see it on, it's going to be a different, or what production. If it's the same production on different nights, it's going to be different. And well, that's life, isn't it? Everything's constantly changing. Nothing's ever the same. And to me, that's why I love sitting in a theater. And I can set shows 2 or 3 times and just love it because I can see the differences. And with actors, as a writer, you just can't do it without the actors. It doesn't matter how well I write if I don't have really good actors. Then it doesn't work. It's, once again, not complete. From my point of view, the people, actors and technicians and writers and theater people in general should get involved with P3 because it's an authentic production company. They care about the writing, they care about the acting, they care about the technical aspects. From my point of view, from what I have, and they're honest, and that's sometimes hard to find in this business. And John is just incredibly supportive, and I think I'm not the only one he's supportive to. I think he's just one of those people who is incredibly supportive and creative, and wants things done in a very honest and authentic way. And I think that's a must. So should have, but should. But I think people need to get involved with P3 for that reason, whether it's a volunteer or as an actor or technician, director. Theater companies like P3, the small theater companies like John has, is they need people's donations, and they need money to they produce people that wouldn't get produced, say the Manhattan Theater Club or any of the big LA or Chicago or New York producers. It probably wouldn't touch me because I'm not known. And with John, he saw a script that he liked, he thought would work, he kind of fell in love with. And he went with it. And small theater companies can do that. And it's important that we have that, because how does a writer or an actor or a director get known if they don't have a company like P3 to start with, to help them, to nudge them along and to do their work. And that's why people should get involved and donate and do what they can for companies like P3. It's incredibly important to our cultural life in this country.
For me, theater is such a unique format and different from film or television is in its immediacy. It's in the moment. It's literally live. And there's that exchange, that energy, that give and take, because regardless of whatever theater piece you're doing, the audience is always another member of the cast, if you will, because there's that exchange of energy. And I've always been in love with the immediacy of it and that connection that is lacking, honestly, in the genre of film and television, which is why I think theater has been and will always be my first love, because of that electric connection that you have with an audience.
I think theater is the most interesting format because you're on the tight wire. That's it. I've done a lot of film and television, and I've done a lot of plays. Film and television, there's room for mistakes. There's redos, there's retakes, it's all. Theater is live, it's intimate, and you're out there. And you can be saved by falling off the wire, but you're on that wire, and that's the thrill of it. And I think that's the thrill of the audience, for the audience as well.
I first heard about P3 production company through John Peterson, who had been working with the playwright Jiggs Burgess, who I was connected with. And it was brought to my attention that P3 production company was going to be doing Wounded Part 2 as part of the Fringe Festival. And I was going to move heaven and earth to be a part of it, because I was such a fan of this piece when it was first introduced to me a couple of years ago in its developmental stages. So I've been with it since close to the inception, and I'm in love with the piece and so excited to be working with P3 to literally breathe life into this character in this piece.
I just recently heard of P3 Theater Company. My good friend Craig Taggart, who's playing Carol in the play, called me out of the blue and had this wonderful opportunity for me to do an incredible play by an incredible playwright. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And this is how I've just kind of come into this family that kind of everybody already knows each other, and I'm sort of the new guy, but I haven't ever been as welcomed as I have been with this group.
I think people should get involved with P3 because of the inherent love of the craft. This is a production company that loves live theater, and it's a phenomenal club to be a part of if that is your passion. I see it in the enthusiasm with which their productions are mounted and developed, and I'm so proud and happy and excited to be a part of it, and I want others to join the club.
I think actors and creative people should get start with working with P3 because their reputation. I mean, once I heard and looked it up, I mean, the plays and the musicals they do are just top notch. And I trust my friend Craig Taggart, who brought me in on it.
Production companies like P3 are so important because their sustainability isn't just on ticket sales, especially when you're getting, ticket sales at such an affordable rate. We want people that ordinarily wouldn't be able to see theater to be able to come and see live theater, but full disclosure, doesn't pay the bills. Art is important, but it's also expensive. So I think if you have a love for the theater, this is the lesson in life that I've received, is that if theater is something that has touched your life, it's of equal importance for you to give back as much as you can, as often as you can, because you're paying it forward from the experience that you've had, like I did when I was in third grade, to continue doing it so that others can benefit from it. So I think it's important, as I said, to give what you can when you can so that everybody gets to enjoy it.
Why is it important to support local theater like P3?
Because theater is for everyone, And if theater becomes monopolized by the richest cities around the world or in the US, then only the people at the top will have it, which would be really tragic, because theater is about exploring, I'm going to get lost here, the human experience and the multitude of vantage points within that. And everybody, like, the level of empathy that you can experience by being exposed to theater is vital, and everyone deserves access to that, and also to whatever catharsis that theater can provide. And also because actors and directors and anyone in the creative realm of theater who is a contributor deserves to have work aside from in 2 or 3 giant monopolizing cities. They deserve to have work where they want to live with their people.
I think it's important to have local theater for kids that are growing up who can't get away to a big city. Like, say they can't go to the Pantages in Hollywood or see something maybe in San Diego. They only have what they have, and this is accessible to them. And also it can be an outlet. It could get somebody maybe off of the streets. It could bring some kind of light to somebody's life who needs it in that moment. And they might not have the most money in the world, but local theater gives them an opportunity to walk in that door and just escape for an hour, 2 hours to another place, and gets them out of their head. And I think theater is great in that sense, where you just get to play. You get to be another person. You get to experience different things. And then maybe you can take that into your own life. And I know a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that if they didn't have local theater. And local theater also brings things to the community and brings a sense of community that you wouldn't get if you didn't have local theater.
I think local theater especially, is important because it's a shared experience. You know, in times like this, I think we're all figuring out that, you know, we're doing a lot more Netflix and Hulu binging than we typically do, but there's literally nothing else like being able to go to the theater. You know, there's studies that have shown that when you go and you sit in an audience with, you know, whether it's 50 people or 5,000 people, your heartbeats sync up when you're watching the same show. It's literally a shared experience. And I think that's a level of enrichment for anyone's life, regardless of their, you know, economic status or how often they get out to the theater. It's just something that's so cool that literally can't be found anywhere else.
So one of the big importances of local theater is it's an opportunity for works that wouldn't necessarily get produced on the larger stages. Talking about, if you look at what's running on Broadway now, it's nothing but rehashes of old movies, because the producers are looking at things and going, okay, what's going to put butts in the seat? What's going to sell? Not what's art? What's actually going to broaden people's horizons? What's going to make people think? Because that doesn't necessarily sell tickets as well. So with local theater, we have the opportunity, we can put on the big, showy Oklahoma musical that everybody will love, and then we can take that money and do the small show, do something that'll actually make people think, that'll actually keep theater in people's hearts and in people's minds.
Like, I forget, I think it was Kara was saying it's such a shared experience, and actually I think Jodi was saying the same thing. It's just such this communal effort between what's on stage, what's backstage, what's front of house, everything. And it's just such this like working organism that teaches such wonderful things like teamwork and everything, like for those on the production side, but for the audience, it's just such this amazing like way of being transported into another life. And I think it was Elizabeth that said it teaches compassion and empathy, and just shows like, sure, you may think one thing, but after seeing, you know, this person over here, how they're experiencing it, maybe it kind of shifts your point of view and you're seeing it from a different angle. And if anything comes from that, great. If not, well, you at least know.
I think another thing that's so important about local theater and just theater in general is a sense of identity to those who feel kind of lost. When you go and you see characters play out, or just borrowing from what you told us about yourself, Buell, how Shakespeare literally is an integral part of your life, and change that. Theater is for everyone. Theater will reach people. art will reach people in crazy ways that you never expected it to, and make us better people and make us better stewards and citizens of our planet and of each other. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like the electrical feeling of just sitting in a room and watching people be human, but somehow be fantastically wild at the same time.
We are all synced up here on the same page. Local theater, sometimes it envelops an atmosphere of collaboration and of just genuine love of theater that sometimes I feel like you don't get in either bigger cities or bigger corporations. And I think sometimes certain theaters can feel like a corporation. And so it's especially amazing in instances like P3, where, you know, this past year was their inaugural season. So when a brand new local theater opens up, it just opens up a world of new collaborations, of new storytellers, and just from viewing a breakdown of it, of finding out that something like this is opening up and becoming new, it's almost just heartwarming, you know, in a sense, as simple as that is. But it's heartwarming to know that more and more people, their dreams are becoming that much closer to reality, and that they have become reality because they're opening up in a city that's close to their hearts, or that they want to reach more community and they want to reach more people. So in that case, it's just amazing to watch a place like P3 and a local theater like P3 really blossom and really reach so many people who otherwise would have to probably trek all the way to, like what Jodi said, San Diego or Los Angeles to see theater. And there's so much culture in Long Beach. There's so much culture and art. When you just like walk down the streets themselves, they're so windy and crazy. So it's cool that something like P3 gets to represent a city like Long Beach and make it local. It's really cool.
Well, P3 Theater Company and all theater companies, I don't know if the general public realizes this a lot of times. Theaters thrive primarily on donations. Everything from your live theaters to the Pantages and Segerstrom, 75% of their cost at least are achieved through generous donors that support it. Sometimes the smaller groups, people don't think to support, and it's on a smaller level, so it's easier to do. But every single theater group needs your support. They need donations to survive, and if you enjoy what you see, the most important thing is to get the word out and to help a little bit financially to keep us thriving.
P3 Theater needs the support and love from our audience through donations, through sponsorships, through volunteer work. Anything you can do to keep theater alive is so key to just happiness all around, and the key to bringing our communities together, getting more people under the same roof to see the same thing, to laugh, to enjoy. Theater is never going anywhere, but through your help and through your effort, you can always help us expand and grow and keep this theater running. And I think it's the most important thing to keep theater going, to keep our performers going, to keep our audiences there. It really does bring communities and people together.
P3 is an incredibly important company, not just to the Southern California theater world, but Southern California in general, because they have given us everything. P3 is a company that I have just kind of seen through the Instagram pages and the Facebook posts that they're a recent company, but there's no reason why people should not work with this company, with how amazing John is, with how amazing the people he gets to help him out is, all the casts he has, all the work he does with the community. He is pushing for the arts to get out there, not just for theater goers, but for everyone. Like, we need everyone, and we want everyone to come see shows. Like, that's what we love, when non-theater people come see shows and then love them. It's the best.
The reason theaters like P3 Theater are so important to our community is because it shares the human joy of art, and the human spirit needs to be fed in a way that just can't be fed any other way. You have the ability to share of your inner self beyond any exteriors or preconceived notions. There's a human spark inside all of us, no matter where we are in life, what walk of life we choose. There's an inner creativity that is just innate to a human being. And we need to nurture that. I think especially in our culture, we don't understand the value that has. And I think it's completely undervalued in such a way where people don't realize how important it is, because art and expression and sharing of the human condition is fundamental. It's what separates us from all other creatures in the world. Cats, dogs, whatever, they're all alive and vital too. But there's one special thing that a human could do, which is to share their emotion and their love with other people in a way that fosters creativity and growth. And I think that people forget that. We get caught up in numbers or this, that, or technology or whatever. But at the fundamental thing is a sharing of human souls. And you just can't get that any other way. And we need to continue to reach out to the arts and support them, because that is what makes us human. And if we don't have a place to share that, then we're no better than a pencil. We're just an object, and that is not what humans are. And we have so much to offer, so much spirit, and it's a sacred experience to share with people the inner part of them, because so many people keep themselves hidden. So many people are afraid. There's fear every day. And if you can just open up and share what's inside you, most of the time you just can make a connection with another person, and then that becomes this profound experience that can't be replicated anywhere else. So go support your arts community and help everyone grow from childhood onto adulthood. Everyone needs to be able to express their inner feelings and emotions and experiences. So go and share and learn from other people. We're all human, and we need to share the human experience together.
Theaters like P3 are so important because it's just, especially with COVID, everything, so many theaters got shut down, and like P3 still going, trying to pump through as strong as they can, and they really need help, with buying the tickets, getting any donations possible, because the arts are so important, and, people need live theater to go see. And so, I really strongly promote helping out arts, or just even to go seeing the show, give what you can. Any amount helps.
People should definitely be involved in nonprofit theater, or even just smaller theater companies like P3. I think it's important because local theater is the beating heart of theater. And yes, there's your Broadway, there's your West End, there's your professional theaters, and they're important, don't get me wrong. But nonprofit local theater, community theater, that is where actors are born. That is where all those famous people that you love and adore and are iconic, that's where they came from. And if you don't support that, we don't get any more of that. So I really think keeping that local theater scene alive and well is so important, and interacting and donating and whatever you can do to be in touch with your local theater companies is just important for the future of theater, really.
Theaters like P3 really thrive off of donations. We do shows to keep the doors open, but it doesn't always cut it. We need help through people like you who understand the importance of theater and the importance of that live connection to keep us all going. So even if you're unable to see the show, if you like what you see, maybe on social media or through interviews like this, it would be lovely if you could find the company and donate.
Theater companies like P3 Theater Company and other nonprofit regional and community theaters are vital to the communities in that they do bring arts and arts education to our communities. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the support of our patrons and our community in forms such as corporate sponsorships, private sponsorships, grants, individual donations. They're all very, very vital to organizations like P3 and other local community and professional nonprofit theaters. We would not be able to bring the work we do to the community without that support. So we are certainly appreciative of all of our patrons, all of our donors, and we look forward to a long, long life in the local community.
This is my first experience working with P3 Theatricals and working with John Peterson. John is so giving. He's as a performer working with him, I always felt safe, I always felt encouraged, and I always felt like I could take risks with them because I knew that if I fell on my face, it was like, it's okay, we tried it didn't work, let's move on to something else. P3 Theatricals, and John in particular, because he is the company, they go above and beyond to create the most authentic experience they can, both with our shows and with the other shows that John produces. I know that he just kills himself 24 hours a day to make these things happen. He's constantly working with productions. When he's not working about them, he's thinking about them, he's raising money for them, and he's making something that's very special and hasn't existed before, will never exist again. So it's this one special time when, if you get the opportunity, you need to check out some of the stuff that's coming out of P3 Theatricals. Hi, I'm Christopher Showerman. I am excited to share with you MGM in concert, and you're going to be excited to be a part of it. You'll go back in time to some of these classic moments in MGM history, those special movies that happened between the late 30s and the mid 50s that give you a certain feeling of security, of safety, of wonder, and of excitement. So come and check out our show. We can't wait to see you there. See you in the theater.
Why is it such a unique experience? Well, having been an audience member and having been on the stage, I kind of answered the question of on the stage. I get to experience another life, another character, separate from the way I am, which is just, it's incredible. It's a wonderful gift to do that. But also seeing it, the same kind of thing, almost when you read a book and you delve into these characters, you get to see somebody you get to go on their journey with them. And the better they do it, the more it just fills you. I saw Les Mis, the original version, when I was very young on Broadway. And just to answer your question about an audience member, as a young girl seeing that for the first time, I was fourth row center, I was moved to tears. I was just sobbing. So it was in a happy way, in an emotional way. It can take you on a journey. It can also, relieve you from the ills of life. If you go to something happy, it will change you. You cannot stay angry and listen to a happy tune or a happy character doing something funny and enjoyable. So I do prefer theater over film for that reason. The joy of the not knowing, not getting the retake, and all the crazy things that can happen and how you learn to come together as a cast and deal with those things. Oh, I have had some crazy things happen to me on stage. I have walked out as Lori in Oklahoma, said my first line, and my skirt fell to the floor. And these are all equity productions, professional. It can happen. It's not necessarily, they always say, oh, that's community theater. No, it happens on Broadway. Sound going out completely and having to come up with a song and learn to do your Ethel Merman projection, on how do you deal with things. And that's so fun. How can you get out of these little things and make them work? And the audience, on the audience's side, because you asked me that, they feel for you. They almost open their hearts more to you when they see that she is actually a human giving us this production. We're not watching a screen. We're watching a live person. And you react from that too, and you're in it together. So it's very cool. They're more unique to me, I'd say. I mean, there are people who would not enjoy musicals. But my same answer would be, I think music in general can change bad to good. And it can bring back memories. It can help you think clearly if you're not thinking clearly. It opens your mind. Music is so important for humanity. And I think going to a musical, whether it's, no matter what the subject, if it's sad or happy or whatever, you still leave there humming the tune in your head or moved in some dramatic way. It moves things, just for me, in a better way than a play would. I enjoy that break, and I feel that music sets more emotion behind your feelings. Yeah, so I enjoy it very much. Before P3 ever existed, my dear friend John Peterson, that we met back in the early 90s doing theater together, and he's younger than me. He loves to say that too. He's younger than me, and he was just a chorus boy dancing sweetly in the chorus of a show I was in. And we just hit it off and became very close. We share the same birthday. And he's such an emotional and wonderful human being who really cares about the actors. He's not in it just for the business. He just loves it. He'll give all he has to make sure that show goes on. A lot of theaters they're into the financial, and there's something to be said for that. You have to keep it going. You have to be, but he'll go even to the fault of that because he cares so much about performing. So he is P3, that man. And you get that from him. So you want to give your all. You want to be there past what's asked of you, because you fall in love with the man who loves you back just as much, because he loves actors and singers and performers so much. And he does his best to make sure it's going to get heard, it's going to get seen. So it is a very unique theater in that respect. And he's hands-on. He's there all the time. And he is the head, which you usually don't get to see. You see the director he hired, you see the choreographer he hired, but no, you see John Peterson all the time, and he's wonderful. And his theater's wonderful, and I just hope it keeps going on and on and on. And I think it means you're going to see pieces that mean something to him, and actors he hired that believe in the project just as much. He does unique projects. The Doris Day show, the MGM show, they all are very unique pieces, but they're also very personal to the writers. And he knows this, he feels this, and he wants to share what he feels, what he's getting from the pieces to his audiences. And sometimes they won't even be the most popular choice to put on, but he feels it. So again, his cast feels it, and then the audience feels it.
We are really, really excited about working with this theater company. They experiment. It's a great team they put together, and we're there for them.
To add on what you were talking about, P3, why should more people in the theater community should get involved with theaters like P3 Company?
I'll go. Here's, because we have partners with theaters all over the country. We're up over 30 partners of the foundation. But the theater in your community is a central point of your community, whether it is a community theater or a regional theater. And it's great when you go see the big tour at the big giant theater in town, but those people don't really need your money and they don't have a real impact in your community. What John is doing, what your local theater communities are doing, is creating a place for your local artists to work. They are telling stories that they think are specific and interesting to your community. And if you want them to keep existing, you need to show up. And don't just buy one ticket, buy season tickets. If you're one of those people with more than a few dollars in your pocket, become a sponsor. It doesn't take much to make the art that we make happen, because we'll do a play with $3 and a roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
And what John is achieving and what he is building. And if you are here in Southern California, think about that. Think about it, what it means for you to not just be a patron, but to be a subscriber or to be a supporter. You become integrally involved in creating the art that's happening on the stage in your community. And we'll be nicer about it than he will because they have to tap dance and say nice things. They need it. What he does is hard every day. The man does not pay himself what he should pay himself. We make everything happen because we love it. And the best thing you can do is give up, volunteer your time, or give direct donations to support their continued existence for your own enjoyment.
And as producers, or we're not thankfully not producing this one, but as former producers, we know the importance of word of mouth. So come early, come that first week, and get on the phone and say, go see this play. There's nothing. I mean, you can advertise, you can do whatever, but there is nothing more powerful than your testimony going back to the church.
And specifically that, because obviously as smaller organizations, we cannot crack the marketing level of major institutions. Theater reviewers are gone, theater interviewers are gone. It's why we're so grateful you do this. It is so hard to get the word out. Truly, the strongest thing you can do is, one, come opening weekend, and then two, on Monday morning, post the flyer of the show and the link to buy tickets and tell people why they should go see it. Your comment to your 1,000 Facebook friends is more impactful than $10,000 we could spend in the LA Times these days on an ad. You really can turn the trajectory of an arts organization by being a public supporter in your sphere of influence.
I'll tell you what I did recently, and it was so wonderful to be able to do it, is I went to see Wounded, also by Jigs Burgess, that was in the Fringe. It so affected me to the degree that I said, okay, I'm going to put a group together. So there was a group of us that went, we took over a part of the theater, then we went to El Coyote afterwards and talked about the play with the actors. And it was truly a beautiful experience when you get to share something like that. So anyway, we'll get off our soapboxes.
The live theater experience is a unique one in that what the audience gets is something that can only be given one time. You could be doing the same production, we'll just pick one random production, we'll say Evita. You could do the performance of Evita and the audience reacts to that and they get that experience, but that same audience and those same actors could do the same thing the next night, and that experience is going to be different. It's going to be different because everybody in the audience will have had a different day than what they had before, so how they react to what they see is going to be slightly different. And the actors, while giving very consistent performances, they're going to have different types of energy and things going on from them personally. Little mishaps can happen. Certain things can be a little more exciting one night than the other, or less exciting as the case may be. But it's a unique experience, something you will only ever be able to experience one time in that exact way. P3 Theater Company is a local, professional, nonprofit theater company that has a mission to create employment for creatives, actors, and to bring the arts, quality arts, to the community and make those arts accessible to the entire community. And when people think of or hear P3 Theater Company, I want them to think, wow, they're going to put on a great show. They're going to have great talent with great production values, and I've got to go see that show.
To learn more, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3 theatre.biz. To learn more, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3 theatre.biz. To learn more, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3 THEATRE.biz. To learn more, go to the P3 Theater Company website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3 THEATRE.biz.